Hello, hi, welcome back to our next episode of Break Free to the Success Side. We have the right guest, the next door leader, who's come from tier 2, tier 3 cities and made it big. Sampark Sachdeva, or LinkedIn Spotlight for 2019, a sales head and managing over 200 people for brands like Oyo and Ola. Let's listen to him and find out what worked for him. What is his secret mantra? So stick with me and let's jump right in. Welcome to my podcast.
Hi Raj, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Super. We would like to start with to understand and to know who Sampark is.
Okay. So see, I've stayed in lots of places initially. Major upbringing was Jamshedpur. Now, so for from close to 10 years of my schooling is from Jamshedpur. So that's where. So if you ask me randomly where are you from, I will also always answer Jamshedpur because that's the city which has made me who I am. So I come across and I bring those qualities of the small town guy with me, and that's where my journey began in one of those Tata colonies, etc.
Wow.
And it was a lovely period to be in, and I still miss those days because again you with smaller colonies you're always interacting with a lot more people. Your neighbors are more of family rather than anything else. So yes, I remember those days very very fondly. Playing cricket in the evening, breaking a lot of window panes, cycling with friends, etc. So till 12th, I was in Jamshedpur. Then I came to Bombay. I did my graduation from Bombay. So I was studying at HR College in Churchgate. So my whole of graduation is there. So it was a sudden shock for me because here people are used to the junior college thing, the friend circles are made, etc. You're from Bombay, so you'll realize that. And suddenly from a small town to get into an environment like HR College. So I remember doing 95% attendance in my first semester in BCom.
What?
And that's when I realized, okay, now there's something going wrong. Because I realized out of 900 students, I had the highest attendance. So then by the time I reached my second year and third year, I
Were
was
you considered as the geek guy?
I wasn't because nobody came to college, nobody knew me.
Oh.
So I'll come
So
back
I'll
to
pause you before you get into your college. I would like to hear stories about Jamshedpur. So
right.
were your parents with Tatas?
Yeah. So my parents were there, so they were doctors in the Tatas then. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, talk to me about your schooling there, your friends, something that you remember, good or bad or naughty.
I come from a convent school. Obviously, it was this more studious kind of a sense where the whole focus was on study, 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 study kind of thing. So I was never, you wouldn't call me a topper there, but I think I was a decent student. I used to get 80s or so in my marks
You
there.
were more than a decent.
No, so my wife was a topper in my class. So she's we were in school together.
Okay.
So so that's where the benchmark is very very high for me there. Okay.
What's your wife's name?
So her name's Pooja. So she's a SRCC grad from Delhi, then did chartered accountancy,
Which
and then
batch?
she is a 2008 batch.
Oh, very junior. So I am an SRCC pass out,
Right,
but I am 94, 97.
right. So she's a 2005 2008 batch. So she did chartered accountancy with that. Worked with Tata Steel for 4 years. Didn't enjoy it. Switched lines. So now she's in HR. So she came to TIS, did her HR postgrad here, and now is an HR professional. So yeah.
Oh my God, complete turn from a
So yeah, that's the I think that runs within us as well. So
looks like, huh?
yeah,
Looks like. But how
right.
did you what clicked between both of you? How did you start talking? What happened? How did it lead to getting married?
See, so we started talking in college, but then it was mostly like friends, etc. But somewhere down the line, those conversations just kept going on, and it was somewhere of a switch from a best friend into a relationship. So till school, we barely spoke. college, then it turned out to be best friends, that the go-to person that you would say. So she's seen all my highs and lows. She stood by me there. Uh, we eventually got married in 2014, which was much, much later. So, yeah. So I was not initially a very naughty guy, but yes, I did get into a trouble a couple of times. I landed up getting caught for calling the sister, the nuns there, and old lady or something. I was talking to.
Oh
We
my
were making,
God.
so we were making fun of her, and I went about in Hindi, and and somehow she caught me, and the guy whom she caught went about and uh, opened his mouth and said, "This is what he was saying." So I got into a little bit of trouble, couple of times, not major trouble. I was not the type who would go about bursting crackers in school or creating a nuisance. But yeah, those minors. I was a very talkative and a mischievous kid. That was all.
So how come you moved to Bombay? Your parents shifted?
So I'll tell you. So Jamshedpur does not have good graduation colleges. Post graduation, you
Ah.
have XLRI. So graduation, 99% people move out. My brother was in Bombay. So in the meantime, I just applied for Bombay colleges, and I felt that now that I am in the city, and it was all. And since I'd spent 3 years earlier in Bombay, my kindergarten was based out of Bombay.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was before Jamshedpur. So 3 years I was in Vashi, when you didn't have the trains even going to Vashi.
I
I'm
know.
talking.
It must be jungle.
So that's the time where I was there. So I always was fascinated to come back, and when I got through HR, so I decided to stay back here. And trust me, those 3 years, while I was not very very happy because I didn't have too many friends, my whole friend circle was in Pune. But that taught me, and Bombay does teach you a lot of things. It does get you up to the grind. It teaches you how to live that life. Uh, Amongst those hardships. So I saw the 2005 floods then. I saw the 2006 blasts during that period. So it suddenly grows you up. So yeah, that's how I landed up in Bombay. But otherwise, I've lost the connection with Jamshedpur majorly. So, but once in a few years is where I end up in Jamshedpur. But I still call that city home for me. So
Oh,
because that's where I grew up. Your childhood are always your best memories that you have.
yeah, absolutely. Tell me, recall your memory of your first job. How did you get through? What happened?
So again, I think this is going to be the interesting story out of it. And I'll tell you my first part-time job, and I'll tell you my first job after MBA as well. My
Sure.
first job was in my second year of college, where I used to. And you come from Bombay, so you'll know Vijay Sales. So I used to
Yeah.
work in sales on the floor at a Vijay Sales store in Prabhadevi. So
Oh,
every morning I used to go to college. Every evening from 4 to 9, I used to go and sell TVs at Vijay Sales. And
wow.
and that was the same time, that was time around of the 2006 blasts, because I remember I was selling TVs while those blasts happened at the stations close by. So uh, and so I was working there for 4 5 months, and it was actually on the floor Sunday full 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I used to be selling TVs, and it used to be TVs and LCDs used to be fairly very very new. It used to cost a lakh and a half around that time. A lot of those mobile phones, etc., and stuff like that was what I was selling. So that was my first proper job. Uh, then I entered MBA in 2008. 2009 was supposed to be placements, and so 2010, while I passed out, the placements got into a mess in 2009 with that whole financial crisis.
Uh,
And uh, and I relate to a lot of people who are going through that same crisis now. So I walked out of college without a placement. Now that was a shocker that came in, because anybody goes into an MBA, puts in lakhs of rupees, expects to come out. And I was very clear I didn't want banking and NBFCs. So I didn't want to get into the financial sector. Uh, and since I was so selective, I ended up without a job. So
oops.
I walked out without a job. 2010, 3 months I was based out of Delhi. I had a lot of relatives there. Uh, Walking into offices with a resume in hand, doing walk-in interviews, etc. And obviously, see, so I was not getting anything worth the qualification that I had.
Right.
And then I ended up working with the dad of one of my batchmates. And the surprising part is that 1 year I worked in an organization which sold astrology. So I would sell softwares which you would use to make kundlis. So my target audience was astrologers. So I used to go to them, convince them to buy a 20,000 rupee software so that you could make kundlis out of that. I used to sell softwares. I used to sell all those Rudraksh malas and the crystal malas and all the yantras that you have. I've sold books on astrology. I've sold courses on astrology. I stood at Pragati Maidan during those international trade fairs and shouted and hawked and sold astrology for a year.
Wow.
And not too many people know about this part of my journey. And at the end of 1 year was where I got an opportunity with Asian Paints. My whole of my Asian Paints interview was just around how the hell did you sell astrology? Because
Yeah, even I wanted to ask you how the hell did you do that?
his whole thing was, how did you create a sales funnel? How did you convince them? What was it like, etc. And my whole interview was around that. And I remember when I went for the Asian Paints interview, we were 8 of us were sitting for the interview. I was the only one selected.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's where Asian Paints happened. And
Was that not happened that when you went to somebody to buy Kundli or this software and they say, "Beta, chodo usko, I'll tell you your bhavishya."
I remember, I trust me, I quit my first job on, I think it was the last day of April. And I was talking to one of the astrologers in the office on around 9th April. And he said, he looked at my Kundli and he said, if you will quit within this month. If not, you will not quit for the next year. And I quit on the last day of the month. So I don't know if it works or doesn't work, but he did predict that if you will quit within the next 21 days, or else you'll stay here for another year. And on the 21st day, I had actually quit. So I don't know if that was a part of the prediction or it was just a coincidence.
So were you mark yourself successful in that career, the first job?
See, a lot of people, and including my wife, said that you don't deserve to be here. You deserve to be in a much better situation. But I was always of that mindset that for me, it was a first job and I wanted to learn. And being a comparatively smaller company, you learn a lot more. And that grind also teaches you a lot of things. So yes, it was a very different time. I will not say I've struggled as per a lot of people who do, but yes, it was a comparatively different time. And once I changed into Asian Paints, and I think the rest, it has just taken off from there. So yeah.
Just and maybe you can take a pause and think about it, but tell me 2-3 takeaways from that job. What is that you've learned?
See, you have to be empathetic. You have to always understand it from somebody else's point of view. Because I know I have traveled from there. I used to travel for a lot of these fairs that happen, or these international trade fair kind of things that happen. I used to travel second class with all the stuff that was need to be carried and sold. So we used to be 2 of you. I stayed in hotels at that time, which used to be 700 rupees for 2 people. Non-AC, absolutely shitty hotels. So I stayed there. I've stood in stalls and hawked, come buy consultancy, etc. So since you've been there, you realize a lot of the things that a lot of people go through. So now that even coming to Oyo, where I was leading a team of 200, it gives you that empathy. It's because you have grown through it. You are never blinded by the fact that there is somebody right there who's going through that struggle. So that, I think that's the biggest learning that is there. And it also teaches me कि कोई काम बड़ा छोटा नहीं होता है, करते हैं लोग. And that's where, and it is possible. Does not mean today that if you are not earning too much, but if you have confidence in yourself, if you're working on yourself, you can change it. So empathy is one, that confidence is one, that possibility that you can grow to wherever you want to. Does not matter where you start. It matters where you end, and you decide where you end.
Never ever you thought of saying that, what the heck am I doing, just quit?
See, तब तक इतनी दुनिया देखी भी नहीं थी, पहली जॉब थी. But I knew, but I knew that I know I am not supposed to be here, and I knew that I'm not that bad. I know eventually I will get what I deserve. It might take time, and you have to have that belief, and you have to work for it. It's not that you just have a blind overconfidence. It's not overconfidence. You have a self-confidence that is there that you should have. So I think that was there, and it's not that I didn't keep trying, and because that confidence was there, I was able to walk into that Asian Paints interview and talk with that confidence and saying, yes, I did sell astrology, and this is what I do, and this is how I can help you. And yes, it's just been a awesome ride from there on.
Tell me something. If you do, you remember any methodology, any concept of from the training that you've gone through with Asian Paints?
See,
Anything that the formula that has worked for you?
See, I will not say there is anything specific, but what has worked for me is the ethics that they have put in. The whole thing of putting in systems everywhere. And trust me, when I moved into startups post that, I bring that thing with me. So people ask me, what do you learn in every organization that you work with? With Asian Paints, my answer always has been system, processes, ethics. And that's what, when I moved into startups, was that learning which I brought through, and I was able to put it into these organizations as well.
Give
So,
me an
so
example of what do you mean by ethics?
See, and I'll tell you, so I remember going into, as I already mentioned, that I'm going into government contracts where I would see my competition tweaking things around to ensure that they get the contract. And Asian Paints was always like, nahi, jo sahi hai, wo sahi hai. We will not, we will not do anything wrong to achieve targets. And that is something that is there, that is something that I imbibe till today. At no point of time, even if my targets are not happening, I will not tell somebody to go and bend the rules.
And you were still able to meet your targets and be a good
See,
performer.
end of the day, your product matters, and if you're good, you will eventually reach there. So yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. Any remembrance of things not going well with you in when you were in Asian Paints?
See, I wouldn't say any specific thing. Yes, there are obviously times when your targets don't happen, and obviously you lose a bit of uh, points in terms of the deals that you crack and don't crack. But it's okay. There's nothing specific as such that I feel went wrong. See, if you ask me, and I will always say that wherever I have been, there has always been a positive learning that I take ahead. Things, it is okay, things will not work. I passed out of MBA, I didn't get a job. I moved into an organization which was not as per my liking. I No matter where you are, there'll be hundreds of things that may not work as per your plan. But then that's part of life. That's life after all. Everything that you do in life, be it professionally, personally, there'll be hundreds of things that you may not come across. But yeah, if you ask me, I will never ever go and ponder over those things at all.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very pinpointed question. So Asian Paints obviously have hundreds of sales rep, right?
Hmm.
What, how was Sampark different from those hundreds?
See, again, so with the experience that I came through, I done the ground work. A lot of MBA grads would directly jump in as uh, managers and come with that learning. But since I'd already done the grind at the bottom as well, uh, is something that I bring in. And for me, I work with a lot of empathy, and that's something that I have stuck on till date. A lot of people come back and say sales guys need to be a lot more hard, and there would be a lot more pushing. There should be a lot more pressure, kind of a thing. I don't work that way. I've always believed in the fact that you have to work with the team and not over the team. So I think that's where it worked, and I hope so. My team still, by teams across organizations, verify that fact. But yeah, that's I've always been known as the not so pressure kind of a sales guy. So yeah,
So you're a chill dude kind of a guy.
I would say it's not the targets nahi karne, but then I understand your problems also, and you have to work together. दोनों की प्रॉब्लम समझो एंड एंड ऑफ द डे टारगेट करना है. अब वो आप चिल्ला के करो या प्यार से करो.
Agree. Yeah. Yeah. And when things don't go well, what is your approach?
See, when things don't go well, you have see, and this is something that I tell in a lot of my sessions. It's okay to get upset. It's okay to get frustrated, but you have to realize day one you're frustrated. It's okay. Day two, it's frustrated. Frustration is there. It's okay. Third day, you are the only one losing because everybody will move ahead. The world doesn't stop. The organization doesn't stop. So at the end of the second day, it is time that you get up and start running because nobody's going to wait for you. So and nobody's going to sit there pampering you and say, "Ki now get motivated, let's get back, etc." Everybody has their own race to run. So you have to pump yourself up, get up and start running. Because if you don't, the longer you stay there, the gap widens up.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely normal to feel bad. 1 day, 2 day, absolutely okay. Third day, get up and start running again. It's time that you get to where you should be. And yeah.
Super, man. Very nice. Very nice. And what made you jump from Asian Paints?
See, with organizations which are very, very stable, somewhere down the line, you do get in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And somewhere down the line, you want to go much faster, and you want to go, you want to create a bigger impact. And that's where Ola happened. Uh, when I moved into Ola, this was 2015. Ola was still just coming about. This was the year of the boom of the startup across the country. And I've seen the 5x growth in Ola while I was there. And I learned speed there. I learned agility there. When I moved to Ola, I realized what does actual working speed mean. Yes, the last 5 years with Ola and Oya, it's been such that yes, my hair has grown a lot more whiter, uh, but uh, but professionally the growth has been awesome. Uh, so yeah,
Very good. So, from a very layman perspective, like we heard these words, agility. Give us an example. What do you mean by that? What is that actually you've learned?
see, when you talk about bigger organizations, it's a lot of it is into approvals and hierarchy and stuff like that. But with smaller organizations, you get the power to do things. I remember in my Ola, it was the seventh day in Ola where I was said, "This is your budget." I had a 1 crore marketing budget in hand for 1 month, and you said you get us 50% growth. How you do it, your problem. So then it pushes you to take decisions, learn, try, experiment, etc. In bigger organizations, just to get that approval becomes a lot more, because again the systems are there. Because the chances of failure in a bigger organization are much more. So hence the processes are always there, because at the scale that they need to have processes, or else they will fail. So that way, uh, I think the decision making is faster, the course correction is faster, uh, the achievements are faster. I think a lot of that is there as well. So it was so if Asian Paints taught me the processes, if Ola taught me the speed, uh, Oyo taught me how do you handle a 200 plus team. And when you're handling a team that size, it's not about driving sales, it's only about driving those 200 people.
Yeah.
And to align, so a team of 10, 20, getting them aligned on a single goal is very, very easy. But when you're talking about 200 people, so I always give that example that smaller team is like a small boat. When you need to turn, it does not take too much of an effort. But a team of 200 is like a big cruise ship. You have to plan way ahead to start taking the turn, so that you take the turn in time for the result to come in. Otherwise, if you turn too late, then it can be disastrous. So,
Or too fast.
so that's where, and it taught you a lot of things, because every member of the team is important. It's very, very important to take the whole team together. You cannot run on the top 20%. The 100% needs to be aligned. Everybody needs to be running. Everybody should be trained. Everybody should be upbeat. Everybody should be motivated. So it's been an awesome journey in across organizations. I can go into every organization and tell you what's my learning out of it. So that's
Go
what.
ahead, please tell us.
So that's what I said, sir. So the first part of it taught me the ground reality. The second one taught me processes. The third one taught me the speed. The fourth one taught me the whole team handling kind of a thing at this scale. So, and now if somebody talks to me, I have those four qualities that I bring for organizations, which I take wherever I go. So it's been a very, very clear learning graph for me. So I've been handling teams since my first job, but handling a team of 200 is a very different ballgame.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that's been an awesome journey across. So if you talk from a sales perspective, uh, sales is all about the daily rigor, and that some people need to realize that if this is my goal, and do a backward calculation for me to able to generate this much revenue, how many consumers do I need? For this many consumers at this level, how many prospective leads do I need? From this many prospective leads, how many leads should I generate? So you do that all backward daily calculation. If this is what I need to achieve in the month, what is my daily number that I need to? So when you do break it up into that whole calculation, the actual number is not very big. So the per day number, or the number of consumers that you need, how many phone calls do you need to make? How many meetings do you need to do? So when you actually break it down on a day-to-day basis, it's not difficult. But the fact is, when you look at it together, it looks humongous. And I think sales is about having that daily rigor कि इतनी दिन में मीटिंग करनी है, इतनी दिन में इतनी लीड्स जनरेट करनी है, इतनी लीड जनरेट करोगे तो इतना कन्वर्जन होगा, इतना कन्वर्जन होगा तो दिन का इतना बिजनेस आएगा, इतना दिन का बिजनेस आएगा तो हफ्ते का इतना आएगा, महीने का इतना आएगा. So you break it up into smaller targets, and that's where it happens. And then you keep calculating, you keep motivating the team, you have your leader scoreboards, leaderboards, etc. You keep pumping up the ones who are doing well, you keep pulling the people who are not doing so well, and it and once everybody is motivated, then everything works like machinery. See, when you start running and you start getting results, and that same thing works with LinkedIn. When you start uh, getting that consistency and that patience and that perseverance, results start coming, and eventually it's about building that momentum. And as you start building the momentum, the ball starts rolling faster. Once it starts rolling faster, the speed becomes up. So yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. And when is that you started your LinkedIn journey?
So LinkedIn account I've had for over 10 years, but it was never a very conscious effort there. Somewhere I realized that it's a longer term game. You need to start working on building relationships. You start need to building network. आप अच्छे टाइम में काम करना शुरू करो, so that जब बुरा वक्त आए, आपके पास एक plan B और एक set of लोग already हो. So it started at around 4.5, 5 years back, and it's been an awesome journey from there on.
Awesome. So take me through it. How was your, what was your feeling when you got your first 50 likes? Or what was your feeling when you got your first 500 likes? And
So I'll tell you. So initially नहीं आता है, and again every rule applies on LinkedIn as well. I'll say there are only two mantras of success on LinkedIn. It's be consistent and be patient. That's it. Result नहीं आता है. अगर आप expect कर रहे हो कि I do a lot of consultancy now, I'll do a lot of group sessions now. If you expect कि आप मेरा session लेके अगले दिन rockstar बन जाओगे तो नहीं होगा.
नहीं होगा.
ठीक है? You have to put patience. And I give an example in every session of mine. It's just like joining a gym. आप जिम में जाते हो, पहले दूसरे दिन में बॉडी नहीं बन जाती है. आप 6 महीने सर्वाइव करते हो तो बॉडी बनती है. बट जो 6 महीने सर्वाइव करता है उसी की बनती है. और पहले 2-3 दिन दर्द होता है. You don't get your results. So that's where you need to just keep that patience and survive over a longer period of time. So I'll tell you, first 3 years, I only reached 10,000 followers. So 1st January 2019, I was at 10,000 followers. After 3 years, 31st December 2019, I was at 33,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
Today we are talking on 29th of May. I'm already at 55,000 followers. So it's a compounding impact. Starting with result नहीं आता है. एक बार again, once the ball starts rolling, it starts picking up speed. So you have to wait that time when the ball does not pick up speed, and you have to just stick on, and it works. How is the feeling? So I remember when I got my first post which did 1 lakh views, and I was still surprised on how it happened. Eventually today, if you ask me, my highest viewed post is 12 lakh views.
Wow.
So again, I still don't know how do I beat that number, but yes, that. So now I have a fairly few posts which have gone 5 lakh plus as well. So
what worked?
See, on LinkedIn, I think stories work, emotions work. So if you know how to touch the emotional chord of any consumer, it works with the Indian media, it works with daily soaps, it works with any kind of content. If you're able to touch the emotional chord, it works. So I've been very clear. It's a professional platform. There is an image that you need to create, and you have to stay positive. You have to stay mature. You have to stay very clear on what you're putting there and what you're not.
So tell me something. Did you plan to be in the spotlight, or it's an output of whatever that you've been doing?
It was never a plan. I did not even know something like Spotlight exists till the time I got the mail.
Oh, okay.
So it was never a plan. I was always writing. Initially, I started writing for myself, because if I've had a bad day and I want to write something positive, that 15-20 minute or a half an hour research on that forced me to read positive things, forced me to think positively. It was more to change my mood rather than somebody else's. But then once I started writing, people started liking, people started engaging, people started appreciating. And somewhere down the line, that addiction was there. And but I never had that intention because I was aware of LinkedIn Top Voice. I was aware of LinkedIn Power Profile, but I assumed it was for way senior people than what I was. Yeah.
So take us through a process of before you write a post or an article. What happens? How much time you spend on research? How you frame up your story? How do you put it?
See, if you ask me, I'm more of an observational writer. I'm not a well thought of kind of a writer. So if there is an observation that I need to write in, most of my posts would be 5-minute posts. Idea आया, लिख दिया. I may or may not post it then and there, but if there is a thought, I generally wouldn't take more than 10-15 minutes to write the post. Because I generally write on my day-to-day observations. My writing, if you check it out, is not very, very technical. It's not big words. It's very, very simple. It's something that the Aam Aadmi understands. And so I don't spend too much time on the writing bit of it. It's about just clicking. एक बार कुछ click किया, 10 minute के अंदर the post is ready.
Sure. Sure. And you said that you don't may or may not post it that time or that day. So
Right.
you hang in for what reason?
See, I know generally when posts work in the morning and the evening, just before an office hour start and just before office hour ends.
Okay.
I know a late night post will not work. So अगर रात को 11 बजे idea आता है, I write the post, but then I post it in the morning. Or else there are times where I've had content for the next 5 days also ready.
Okay.
So content is written, but then I stagger it and post it out. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Talk to me about when you've become Sampark, say Sampark.
Mhm.
No, the famous guy. All of a sudden, everyone is calling you, pinging you. When is that happening?
See, I'll tell you. So LinkedIn Spotlight was a turnaround, if I may say, put it that way. Now, how did Sampark se Sampark come down? It was a suggestion by one of the followers on my LinkedIn comments.
Oh, okay.
And he's a very good friend today. So he posted that you should start using it. That was the first interaction that we had. I replied back saying that I don't think I am big enough to use it as on today's date. A third person comes in and says, Sampark, stop underestimating yourself, start using it. And since then it has stuck. Today it's my Instagram handle as well. It's my TikTok handle as well. It's my email ID as well. And the website that I'm building, it is my website domain as well. So yeah. So today, so 1 year down the line, Sampark has stuck to me like a magnet, sir.
Very cool.
So I made a video on the other day. I said, ki, there are times when your plan A will fail. And life is all about how you handle plan B. So that plan B is very, very important because plan A will always fail. At some point, it will fail. So,
And what's your plan B?
So, so I have, and if you would have noticed, I'm doing a lot of my coaching, training, mentoring. So I'm now doing a lot of my consultancies on personal branding. How do you transform your LinkedIn journey? I'm doing a lot of consultancies on sales, a lot of consultancies on marketing. I'm working with a lot of students on career guidance, mentorship, etc. So just the lockdown, I would have done over 25 webinars.
Wow.
I would have touched 3,000 plus people in those webinars. I have done over 100 one-on-one consultancies.
Wow.
Just today, this is my second session. I've done a consultancy in the morning. I'm talking to you now. I have a webinar in the afternoon. I have had 2 webinars yesterday as well. So that's plan B for me. And
You are busy.
I am damn busy. So, because I realized I'm working much more than what I was before the lockdown, and a lot of people are saying this. So guys, it's always about having your plan B, and you just switch into plan B. And trust me, I am way ahead of what I was in my thought process a month and a half back when they started.
So listen, tell us, what is your plan going forward? What does first 100 days will look like post the lockdown?
See, for me, and I'm trying to build this whole thing up. This was a so-called, if you call it a business plan, it was a business plan which started out in the lockdown. So with over 25 webinars, with over 3,000 people touched, with over 100 consultancies, my 2 months have been awesome. And I think that's where I will try scaling this up over the next 3 months as well. The first 100 days is where I need to, because I'm also looking at creating loads of modules, loads of other touch points, etc., where I can uh, help people, assist people, be it LinkedIn, be it personal branding, be it sales, be it marketing, etc. And yeah, so that's my plan for the next 100 days.
So you will be more focused on the consulting, developing,
Right,
advisory kind of a thing.
right.
Right. And what's your personal first week, 10 days look like post the lockdown?
I want to go to Marine Drive. It's been a long time since I've been to the Marine Drive. Um, I would love to have Pani Puri. That's something that I've wished
Yay.
uh, for 2 months. So yeah, but waiting for the see. I know the situation will not turn around in a day. Again, it will take some
Yeah.
time. So even once this opens up, and if the government allows, and you're sitting in Bombay,
Yeah.
it's going to be a few months before a lot of these things become possible. But I know it's given me a shot at something that I always wanted to do, but I never had the guts to. So I've had 2 months where I've been full force on this journey, and I'm sure that the next 3-4 months are going to be the defining factors on this journey as well. So every stage of life is a defining moment. Every stage of life teaches you something. So yeah,
Brilliant. So listen, you are one of those examples, the people who come from tier two, tier three cities to these big cities and make it big.
I,
So,
I I still don't think I made it big. I still have a long way to go. So
which is good. So far that you've achieved.
right.
So, if you have to sum it up, for our listeners, people who listening from tier two, tier three cities who have these big dreams to come to tier one cities, what will be your message? What will be your 3-4 pointers for them to consider and keep their on their soft board somewhere to
Stay
reflect on?
positive. Stay positive. Be confident. Be persevering. Be patient. It's all the bookish knowledge that I will tell, but then it works. You have to have the confidence in yourself that you will achieve what you have to, but you also need to realize it will not happen in a day. Hence you need to be patient, hence you need to be consistent, hence you need to be persevering. One message is, see, in a 40-year career, 2-3 साल इधर उधर ना does not matter. अगर आप 3 साल आउट ऑफ 1 साल आउट ऑफ जॉब भी हो, क्या फर्क पड़ जा रहा है? 40 साल की जगह 39 years you will work. That's it. That's the only thing that you will make a difference. It does not matter. In the larger scheme of things, all the challenges that you spoke about are very, very small. So stay positive, stay happy.
Well, thank you, man. So, guys, take a note. It works. Sampark, thank you so much. One thing I should compliment you. I love your smile.
So, thank you so much.
Well, hey, all the very best to your new gig. Stay safe and stay connected.
Thank you, Raj. It was a pleasure being here.
It doesn't matter how you start. What matters is how you end. Let me repeat. It doesn't matter how you start. What matters is how you end. That's what he says. Remember? Some of the things worked for him is patience, perseverance, confidence. It might sound bookish, but it worked for him. So hey, worth a try, right? So let's practice. Let's practice. And it's time to say goodbye. But before I go, let me check. Did you subscribe to the YouTube and podcast channel so far? No? Yes? No worries. Here we go. Once more. It's Break Free Consulting for YouTube. Okay? And Break Free to the Success Side for Google, Apple, and Spotify podcast handles. I'm sure that you will subscribe it right now. I will see you soon with our next guest. So till then, stay safe and stay connected. Cheers.